Previous guest, first question.
Yes. Very excited for this one. What are we going to have here? Okay, here's the question. What was the scariest aspect of your transition and how did you overcome? Which is a very good question. So let me put this back. Here you go. So the scariest part of my transition was having an injury right before, and an injury that I wasn't wanting to deal with or that I was expecting to deal with. Because I was so excited to get out. I was so excited to play. I was so excited to surf.
Just let me out.
I was so excited to use my body in a way that I'm like, yay, it's so different now. And that injury really forced me to sit still, to be quiet, and to actually confront everything else with the transition that was bothering me that I had compartmentalized because I was just planning to use this next chapter just to avoid, forget, and move forward. So being active is a great distraction. And then that being taken away from me, wow, that was hard.
How many years in were you at that point?
That's 21 years.
And coming to that point, had you dealt with any other significant injuries?
I've had injuries before, but this one required a surgery. And it required a proper rehab, which I didn't give myself the proper rehab. And so I was not expecting the recovery to be so tricky. And then the support I needed for the recovery and for the checkups and the ortho and all of that to be needed. So I couldn't wing it. And that was hard.
Now, when you say not give it the proper rehab, was it simply because doing the proper rehab would have kept you in the Navy longer?
Yes, exactly. So when it happened, it was, I'd already had a bad knee. So I had like an ACL tear before. I had, a left ankle scope clean out, and then I had a meniscus tear. So I was used to the injury. I was able to get stem cells at one point that helped with the longevity. But when the meniscus tore even further, it flipped open, and it's called a bucket handle tear, and my knee was stuck in an angle.
Not supposed to do that.
It was mechanically stuck, like you couldn't get it out. It was super scary. So I had to get like emergency surgery by whoever was available because it was with the VA at the time, obviously, like big Navy.
So you really don't have the ability to go, let me go to a couple evaluations. Let me get a second. It's kind of like, I need to get my knee unstuck.
For that one I did because because your hamstring can't be engaged, it shortens. And so what could have happened if I kept prolonging it, I could have shortened my hamstring. And, in California, it's pretty tricky to get top of the line ortho right away in an emergency situation unless you're networked, And so I just didn't have the same network I had in my previous position. And I did have, support from my commanding officers, and everybody's like, why don't you stay a little longer and do all these things to get the rehab that you need and the help you need? But I was just so over it. I just wanted out.
We're going to eventually get into this. You spent time in NSW, but what was your assignment at that time?
At this time, it was a really fun assignment, actually. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I ended up really loving it. So in 2016, they opened up all the previously closed rates, like SEAL, Rangers, these types of special force jobs to women that were previously closed to women. And so in order to mitigate some of the gender friction points, integration friction points, the Navy decided to have women come and be instructors. And I remember hearing about this. I remember getting invited out to BUD/S back in like 2017, and they asked me, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. That's stupid. But when I was about to get out, I'm like, I am tired of this type of job and work, and I just want to go surfing and get back to California. I took the job as a Twilight Tour, as an off-ramp to kind of, you deploy. I was on a deploying unit for 10 years, and so this was my first like break. So it was my little off-ramp break where I'm just training, and I got to be an instructor in first phase, and I got to see Hell Week. It's every 8 weeks we have a new class, so I got to see Hell Week like once every 2 months and observe all of that, humans at the, weakest point and who survives and who doesn't, and resilience and grit. It was so amazing.
We're going to eventually get into this, the desire, like you're talking about, man, I just wanted out of the Navy.
Yeah.
But being able to come off the line, so to speak, spend that time in a fixed base, working training, that didn't change your perspective to where maybe like, let me do 30?
No, because I think I really liked operating. And so when I was training, I liked it, but I wanted to train on my timeline, which eventually made me start my company. But it took a bit for that. But yeah, I liked it, but I wasn't. I wanted to do that on my way. If that makes sense. Yeah.
So what year did you get out?
2022.
Okay. Let's take you all the way back though.
Okay.
Young girl, where's hometown?
Yes.
Where'd you grow up?
So hometown is between Longmont and Meade, Colorado, kind of outside of Boulder. Grew up rural in the country. I have 2 younger sisters and my parents, and they were renting this little tiny farmhouse with 1 bathroom. And I think it literally had 1 bedroom, but they made a closet into another bedroom. I can't remember exactly how that worked, but
your little fit.
Yeah. We had a whole big outside to play in. There were cows. There was a llama farm, like maybe 3 miles away. There were cornfields or rivers or lakes. It was really fun to grow up there.
But families not farmers.
No, they were just renting this little house.
What took them into that specific area of Colorado?
I think affordability, probably.
You and your sisters, would you guys, you and your sisters, did you grow up close? Were you at each other's throats all the time?
I mean, we played pretty rough, but we also were good playmates together. So it's fun to have other people to do adventures with. So we'd, go out and play and cause problems, but be way away from the house and try to not be fighting by the time we got home because we knew we'd get in trouble. So we had a lot of time to work it out.
Big group of kids? Like, was there a big community of kids in your area?
No, it was just us.
So you're stuck with each other.
Yeah. We're just the weirdos.
Make it work.
Yeah.
What'd you enjoy doing as a kid?
Oh, man. I enjoyed, I remember getting a bike for Christmas one year, and that was such freedom just to be able to bike and explore and see what else is out there in the country. And then I really enjoyed the water. So we lived near a lake. And my mom had these, remember the movie Jaws?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, remember the yellow flotation that gets bloody? But so we had that. I always thought of Jaws on it, but I would pretend it was such big, I mean, so much chemicals in those things, but they don't make those anymore, but you could stand on it. So I would go to this lake and pretend I was surfing on this yellow flotation device. That was one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, at least you didn't have to worry about sharks in a lake.
Yeah, just snapping turtles.
What else did you enjoy doing? Were you good in school academically?
Yeah, I got good grades. I don't remember enjoying school per se. I did like getting the good grades because that made parents happy. So just kind of that type of feedback. But
overall, just a good kid, just wanted to be outdoors?
Yeah, I feel like I was a pretty good kid. My mom had us go into music really young. And so there was always that type of thing to train and to practice and rehearse, and kept me very busy and no room for just kind of messing around and fucking off, I guess. You had to really just be disciplined. Was
your mom pushing music because she was a musician and wanted you guys to learn, or just something to keep you occupied?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I actually asked her this not too long ago myself. I think she always had a heart for the arts and theater, but never was into that or never did it. So we were watching Itzhak Perlman, and I remember thinking he was amazing because he had cerebral palsy and he was playing the violin. And I do remember this, watching him play somewhere and then saying, I want to do this. And my mom got so excited because her heart is in the theater and in music. So she took that desire and then made it a reality for me. And then it just became a big thing in my life for a while.
When did you start playing? What instrument?
It was violin.
And when did you start playing?
And I started playing at age 5 or 6. It was a tiny little violin. And I kind of progressed to where I got homeschooled at one point, and I was playing with these women who are now touring the world. They're called the Albers Trio, and they were my, playmates in that. We were playing quartets. I was playing my violin for music. I was really into it, but I really didn't like it as much as I liked playing sports. And so, as I got into middle school, we always kind of were playing little sports growing up. My parents played softball and baseball. They were athletes, so there's always a tennis racket, a ball, a racquetball, something always hanging around. So we'd just play our own, not organized, like our own chaos, make up sports. Home run derby, that was a fun one, But I just remember when I got to do real sports, like I wanted to play basketball and I was like, this is cool. It's like, I just didn't want to do anything but sports at that time. And so my teacher's like, and it's hard on your hands and it takes time, right? So they're like, you have to choose one or the other. And I chose to stop violin and play sports. But my parents took it really well because they invested so much money and time into this effort and really grooming for the next level. The women I played with, they went to Juilliard, and then they're now professionals. So it was kind of on that track, but they let me just follow my heart and my passion. And I got to do sports.
Did your sisters stay with music?
No, I think we all kind of, it gets to the point where it's, it's fun, but then when you want to be serious and you want to make it a career and you want to be successful, it's serious,
Was there ever the conversations at that point leading up to making the decision to step away from it? You mentioned Juilliard. Was there actually conversations of like, okay, this is going to be your path and your progression?
Yeah. So I was in middle school and I got homeschooled in 5th grade and I went to all these different camps. Like my teacher saw this potential in me, which I'm so grateful I had people like that in my life early on and I have them now. And I've always had that. So I'm blessed and fortunate to have that type of person, I guess, to mentor. But she saw that I had something in me, and so she just had me tag along with her daughters, and we would go to these camps, these violin music camps, And at one point, she's like, "Okay, you're done with me. You've outgrown me. It's time for this next instructor." But that's the one that is like grooming you for, Juilliard, and then a career in this. And that's when I was like, oh, no, it's serious. I'd have to only do that. And I didn't want to only do music.
Now, the overview question, did you consider yourself good in sports at that point in time? Because where I'm going with this is I give your parents so much credit that it's so easy for a parent to, you had obviously a natural ability playing the violin. People saw something in you. But for your parents to see the bigger picture and go, if it's not feeding your heart, it does not matter.
I know. I am so glad they did that. My mom, really, she's the one. I think I was good at sports because I was an athlete because just growing up in the country and stuff. But I think I was a better musician because I'd put so much time and effort into it. So I hadn't had the time to put the time and effort into an actual organized sport yet. But I did translate all of that into it, so they were supportive of that because they saw that I wasn't messing around with that either. Like I had a membership at the YMCA. I'm running. I'm going to practice before, staying after. Like I was serious about sports too.
Did you play sports all through high school?
Yes.
Any one of them did you end up focusing on just a single sport, or were you kind of one of those kids that I'm going to play sports year round?
I liked playing it all year round because it's conditioning. But towards the end, I had tennis and basketball were the two that I was really focusing on.
Through your high school?
Mm-hmm.
Any aspects of taking one of those to leapfrog you to college because of sports?
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about doing that with basketball. I liked basketball more than tennis. And so I was really leaning into that. I was like kind of wanting to get a basketball scholarship, but I did blow out my ACL in high school and that derailed me a little bit. That's a tricky one.
You and unfortunately so many other kids that, man, it's like, that one injury, who knows? Woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah.
So then how does the military come onto your radar?
So no one in my family was in the military. They weren't really supporting. This was before 9/11, so it wasn't like a thing, But
what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 2001.
Graduated high school 2001?
Yes.
Okay. So you're kind of right in between the first Gulf Wars and then 9/11.
Yes.
Okay.
So then my senior year, so 2000 into 2001, I'm like, well, I wanted to either go to Pepperdine because I wanted to go to California and wanted to surf. But then
Why Pepperdine specifically?
I don't know. It just looked like a beautiful campus. I'm just like, wow, you can just walk out right there and surf. And it just looked like a good school. Very expensive school.
What I was getting at is you weren't thinking of a specific degree program, just the college.
Well, I was also thinking of the degree program. And then that made me look at Indiana because they had a sports medicine program. I know.
Pepperdine, Indiana.
I know. They had a 6-year sports medicine program that looked awesome with the academic side. So then I was looking at that. But
This October 28th and 29th, the Military Officers Association of America is bringing together 3,000 voices, military leaders, warfighters, veterans, and families at National Harbor in Maryland for their inaugural conference, Total Force Plus. This isn't just another military conference. It's a mission to advance solutions for our military and veteran community, including leadership development, quality of life, military transition, and maximizing the veteran's experience. It's all on the table. This is where the next generation of military solutions will be tackled, at the first and only military conference where people outrank everything. And because the mission is so important, MOA is making attendance free for those who are currently serving, the spouses of those currently serving, and all federal employees within the DoD and VA. Secure your seat now, as tickets are limited and offered on a first-come, first-served basis. Visit TotalForcePlus.org to see if you qualify for your free ticket and to register for the conference.
I always had this thing about serving in the military, and it just felt like a calling from a very young age. So I decided to go to the recruiter's office and
Did you talk to your parents before going and talk to the recruiter?
no, because they wouldn't support it. I just knew I just had to go do this.
Did you actually sign up at 18 or did you do the delayed entry?
At 18. I can't remember if I was like 17 or 18 yet because I graduated. I was 18 by the time I graduated. So I think I was 18 when I signed the contract.
Was it the typical recruiting station where it's like all 4 branches in one little office?
Yes, but I only remember the Marines and the Navy because I wanted to be a Marine. And they missed out because when I went in there, I'm so excited because they have the sword. They look so disciplined. They look in shape. I'm like, this is exactly what I envisioned doing. And then
Nobody ever thinks the Marine Corps uniform looks the best.
I don't know why I did. But then I think it was a sword. I just wanted a katana, you know?
There you go.
And then, yeah, they didn't really make it. They made it apparent and clear that they did not want a woman to join. They were very sexist to me when I entered in. And I was like, well, this is weird. Because I hadn't been treated that way before. That was like the first reality of like the world is out here and this is what it's like. If you're a woman, I'm like, whoa. So then I walk away.
It's actually, it really is a shame that,
it is,
that
right?
you had to experience that.
At a recruiting office. That's sad. But then I walk down and then there's this Navy dude who's a little overweight. And he's like, how about the Navy? I'm like, oh, you're getting the scraps, right? Like, and then I'm like, oh, I don't know. And
No, the poor Coast Guard guy at the very end of the
I know.
line was like,
I didn't even get to him. The Navy guy was pretty aggressive, though. He's pretty agile. And so he brings me in there, and I'm not really digging it yet because I don't want to be on a boat. I want to go I wanted to be like in the front lines. I just want to go do stuff, you know? And so then, not that Navy doesn't, but I didn't know. And then he asked about sports. I'm like, oh, I'm getting ready for tennis, a state, you know, and he's like, oh, and he had all these trophies of tennis champions that he's won in the Navy. He played for the Navy. So then we played and he was actually really good. And so it made me think, oh, maybe the Navy maybe the Navy could be okay. And so then he gave me a binder of all these jobs to look up. And I found this job that sounded like a dream that I fantasized as a child in this type of job too. It was a cryptologic technician interpreter, so a Chinese linguist. And in the job, it sounded like, oh, you got to be this little spy, you got to learn a language, and most importantly, I got to be in Monterey, California for a year and a half and get to surf. So that's why I chose that job.
I'm assuming so you did well enough on your ASVABs to basically have your pick.
Yes, and then you have to take like a language proficiency, like a DLAB test. And I think with music, because you're listening to intuition and you're listening to all these different tones and it's very focused on that, like it helped me, I think, do well in that test. Because it's like they make up a language and you have to follow these rules. So I did it right enough to score so I could pick Chinese as my language I wanted to learn.
Go in straight out of high school, like literally graduate on Friday, off to boot camp Monday?
Yeah, I think it was like maybe I went in summer. So I think I had a couple weeks in between graduation and
How did your parents take it, though, when you came home and said, guess what I did?
They didn't like it. They were not supportive of it at all. I mean, it was just not what you do. It's like, yeah, it's like you avoid prison and you join the military, or you want to pay for school and you go to the military. Like, they're like, you should be, what are you doing?
Off to Chicago?
Off to Chicago.
How was that experience getting into boot camp?
So it was shocking because again, I was like used to a whole different type of my own little bubble. And I'm like, whoa, this is like prison here. You know, it's nuts and the yell, and it's just different types of personalities that I hadn't been exposed to. So it was kind of funny, but kind of interesting, like the way how they strip you down to everything. But it was fine. Yeah.
Did you adapt to it easily, or was it a struggle?
I adapted. I thought it was kind of fun. I like it. I mean, that's why I think I was drawn to all this stuff.
How did now, like I said, we're going to get to it, but you actually first learned of special operations while you were in boot camp, even though you went in with your contract for a linguist.
Yes. And then the contract for the linguist at the time, it was like $6,000. So I was like, yes, this is great.
Signing bonus.
So I felt like, whoa. But when I was there was these guys who came and briefed about special forces. And I remember we were all sitting down and they said, you know, they looked different. Like they were in shape. They had these blue and gold T-shirts on. They had these shorts. They had longer hair. They were smiling. They were glowing. They were tan. They were muscular. I'm like, whoa, who are these guys? And they talked about being on a team. They talked about the SEAL, SWCC, diving, and EOD communities. And they said, if you want to volunteer for this, you can. It wasn't its own job at the time, but it was like a collateral duty. But you can try out and go for it. And so I'm like, yes. So I am in line on the Navy SEAL line. And they said,
not this line.
Women can't do this one. You're not allowed. But and at the time I was like, bummer. But I'm like, well, what can I do? What's the next hardest one? Like, I just wanted that, you know. And part of me wanted to be a diver, but they're like, well, with EOD, you can dive, you can jump, you can shoot, and you can blow shit up. So that's closest. So then I'm like, cool, I'll be a EOD. And that's, I started training, and at the time it's called Dive Motivator. So you would go, you have your apartment or your ship, they called it, with all the people. I don't know how many people were, maybe 50, maybe 100, I don't know. And you'd go to this gym with a pool on a track, and you'd go work out with these dive motivators. So they're, you know, active duty SEAL, SWCC, EOD, and divers, and they just work you out. And it was so fun to have that part of my boot camp, because it didn't really feel like boot camp because half the day I was playing and working out outside.
I've had other guests on, and they talked about early, before contracts and specific pipelines, having to find a way to get a workout in a bathroom.
Yeah, 100%.
Because you're like, hey, when I go here, I'm going to go to Bud's, but they're not giving me any extra time to work out.
I know. And I think, well, they did take away the Dive Motivator program not too long ago. And that's interesting to see the effects of that. But yeah, I remember doing pull-ups on like the door, like prison style, like with a towel on the door. And then the bunks, you could do like a ton of different like inverted rows, like, and then elevated push-ups. Yeah. And then you get in trouble. Like I remember trying to always get in trouble so the RDCs would punish you. And so
push-ups.
Yeah. And they just can't get wise to it because then they know that you're just trying to get a workout in. And then everybody else hates you because they don't want to work out. So
2001, were you in boot camp on 9/11?
Yes. So 9/11 happened while I was in boot camp.
How many weeks into it?
I feel like at that point I was at week 4-ish or 5-ish, maybe out of 7 weeks.
And noticeable change in the atmosphere, the feelings, all of it?
Big energy shift of the whole place. So everything became very quiet. You could tell we call them like RDCs. All right. I actually don't remember their names, but the guys who are like drill sergeants.
Got it.
Telling us what to do. They were quiet. They were very different. They gathered us all together in this big, like, where we do our final graduation. They put us all together in this briefing room. And the first thing they asked is, anybody from New York or have family from New York? And then a lot of people raised their hands, and then they took that group, and they had, the support and the chaplain to let them know what was going on. And then I was in the group that didn't have family from New York. And then they said, okay, well, this just happened. We had a terrorist attack. And people were crying. There was panic. There was fear. There was anxiety. There were so many emotions circulating in this small, confined space. And I think the hard part is like people just want to call loved ones and communicate. And that, we weren't able to. So that was very interesting. You could feel it. And then I'd say a large percentage of people wanted to run away. And escape and go back, they didn't sign up for this. Again, they signed up maybe to get college money, or they signed up to avoid prison. And then there's a small little group that said, this is exactly why we signed up. And that's kind of where I aligned with that group, and found real quickly that that's what I need to keep being, who I need to keep being around, because this is exactly why I signed up to be in the military. It was like happening.
Going back to your family,
Mm-hmm.
what was that like in the sense of you went in, your mom and dad really weren't for it, but now 9/11 kicks off.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine what that first phone call was like with mom and dad, like, because they don't have the ability to go, you're a little girl, just come home.
Yeah, no. And then I remember like you have a payphone where you get a chance to call on a Sunday, every Sunday, but if your family's not there, like they're not there. So you would write letters too. So I remember writing letters, and the letters were huge. That was a big thing. But I didn't know this. I didn't know if I was going to see them at boot camp because they shut down all the flights, right? My parents had already planned to come see me, and they were going to take a train, already planned, because it was cheaper to take the train than the fly. So I get done with graduation, and I see my parents and my sisters there, and I just remember like feeling like I wanted to cry. Like I felt like this wave of love and emotion, that support that they had for me, especially after 9/11, and just the embrace of like.
So you went into graduation day not thinking your family was going to be there.
Yeah, I didn't think I was going to see them. And so that was really cool. And then I felt just so proud to have them there, and then to have them support me felt like a completely different, it felt differently than when I entered in. A lot of changes happened in that 8-week window.
And that's a big aspect from a family's perspective.
Right.
It's like, maybe they weren't for you going in, but hey, she's in there now. We need to be 100% behind her.
100%. Yeah, so that was cool.
How long of a break between graduation and showing up in Monterey?
So then that was just, I think you go the next day on a flight out to, and we did have flights. We had to wait for flights to kick back on, but our timing of our class was pretty good. We had like maybe a couple days, and then we were on the flight. It was empty. We were the only ones on it. And we didn't wear our uniforms because it was a threat. So it was kind of fun to be walking up and down the aisles of the planes. And then, but that's when because you didn't have TV in boot camp unless you went to the dentist. So I just remember everyone's trying to go to the dentist and see what's going on. Yeah, no kidding. But I remember getting like the Time and the Times and all these magazines, and just reading all this stuff and then seeing it, because there's no phones back then either yet. Like, I mean, there's phones, but not iPhones. I don't remember when those came out. But
so it's weird to think about. It wasn't just merely because of 9/11. There was an information block for you while you're going through boot camp.
100%. So then it was just like, whoa. And then seeing just the world be different, people behave differently to each other. And then all of a sudden, like being in Monterey, and then having protesters and having just completely different, I guess, support and non-support for what was happening at the same time. And then being part of the group that's going to,
Well, and then the thing that you have to factor into it is you're an 18-year-old young girl who's basically never been outside of Colorado before.
I know.
So you signed up into the military, completely uprooted your life, and now you got thrown into a washing machine.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out of boot camp.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The one thing I glossed over is, so you got into the Dive Motivator program in boot camp, but did not opt for changing your rate. And why was that?
Yes. Okay. So they said, okay, you can't just go to language school for a year and a half in Monterey and then go to EOD school in Florida and dive school. Like, I mean, why not?
It sounds perfect.
Here's $6,000 here. Here's $6,000 here. No. So they're like, you have to go pick one of these jobs. And I was looking at the job descriptions. I'm like, whoa. There weren't jobs that I wanted to do, one. And two, I also was picking this linguist job, and I felt aligned with the people that were in that job as well, because it was a different type of job that I felt I would be challenged in. And these other jobs, I just was like, I don't want to even go to this place or do this. Like, I don't even know how I can get my like heart and brain behind this, because it just doesn't seem like something I have any interest in doing. So I decided, I'm really glad I decided it, because I needed to mature, because I was only 18. I decided to keep with the language job, because in my head, my reasoning was like, I can always go and do EOD down the road. I just want to get the language in, and I really just want to go touch the ocean. So I need to go this path first.
How'd you like Monterey?
I loved it. It was amazing. Like, I got way into triathlons because there's a 17-mile drive in Pebble Beach, and so I was just biking and running and swimming, and then I remember seeing the surfers there, but I hadn't surfed yet in El Silomar, and I'm like, I would bike and run out there. I got way into running. I did there was like an Army 10-miler run in Washington D.C. that I got to go, and I felt like I was a sponsored runner because I had my little Defense Language Institute singlet on. I got to run for the school out there, but because the environment there is amazing for running and endurance sports. But yeah,
You stay with the triathlon aspect?
I did throughout. Yeah, I kept doing triathlons for a while, actually.
Because I would imagine training for a triathlon and trying to maintain an active duty lifestyle kind of gets difficult.
It does, but I liked it because it was just my time to think and meditate, and it was that active meditation because I was working out, and I liked that dopamine that I was getting. I liked all the hormones I was feeling when I was doing those types of sports. I felt like it made me better at studying for language. And then later on, it felt like it made me balanced at, because it is kind of like an active meditation.
They talk about that, the ability to ramp yourself up and push yourself physically allows your brain to almost calm down and gives you that mental reset.
Yeah, it's nice.
What language did you choose?
Chinese.
And of all the languages, why Chinese?
Because it would get me to Hawaii, where I could really learn to surf. Because when I was watching the surfers in Asilomar, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to learn there yet because it's cold, the wetsuits, the sharks. It just felt like I'll just wait till I'm in Hawaii. And then that's when I learned how to surf and got very hooked on it and addicted. And I've been back to Monterey and surfed Asilomar several times since then just to be like, I'm surfing the spot that I dreamed about and manifested like back when I was 18.
Is it as good? I'm not a surfer. Is it good surfing compared to what you've surfed other places?
Oh, man, that's a good question. It's good because it's in a spot where I told myself I wanted to surf one day. Is it the best? No, but there can be some good days out there. But it's not like consistently.
It's more
like
of, that's where I saw surfing for the first time. That's where I want to surf.
Yeah. But I had fun there. Yeah.
Stupid question from the outsider looking in. With 9/11 kicking off and languages, was there any pressure like, hey, we need you to focus on Arabic or?
Yeah, that almost. Luckily, there was a lot of people that wanted Arabic, which at one point I was like, yeah, that would probably get me where I need to be, especially what I wanted to do. But for some reason, I just was like, nah, I'm going to stay on track with Chinese.
Did you take to the language easily?
Not at first. I didn't realize how much I actually had to study, way more than I thought. And so once I realized there has to be a formula to learning this thing, and then I just took the formula I had learned and discovered through music and applied that with Chinese, then it became, I could find my rhythm in it. I really enjoyed it. I liked the way the language is. I liked learning about the culture. I liked the way the language was designed. I like the characters. They have symbols. Everything has meanings. And these roots, you can tell what the word's going to be about because it has this radical. And I thought that part was super cool to learn about, more than I thought I was going to like it. Does it sound the most romantic language in the world? No, it doesn't sound pretty. But it was cool to learn about it.
Coming out of language school, off to Hawaii. When you're into, I'll call it your first deployment. You're land-based, correct?
When I was in Hawaii, I was not on any deployments there.
Okay.
It wasn't until I was in EOD that I started doing deployments.
So again, this from the outsider, not understanding everything.
Okay.
You're in Hawaii. You're finishing out your contract as a linguist.
Yes.
Are you enjoying being in the military?
Yes, because I liked my job as a linguist. I liked my job because I found a job that I would like there as a quality control person, so I kind of made my own hours. And I got to do my job still. I made my own hours based on the wind and the waves because in the morning I would surf, and then thermals would kick up around 11 or 12, and then that's when the kite surfing was going on. And so then I would work exactly when it made sense. So
Gotta go,
I was
boss.
but then I got to be my own boss. And so then I was like, this is great. Like I get to surf and kite and do my job.
If you had done an entire career as a linguist, could you do it completely land-based and never have been on a ship?
That's a good question. I feel like you have to progress and do some sort of direct support, they call it. And you either on like a plane, like a P3 plane, like air crew, or you're on a ship.
You're into that first enlistment. You at the end of that enlistment is when you made the jump to EOD.
Right. The last, like my 5th year, because I started screening for EOD on that 5th year of my 6-year contract.
Leading up to that 5-year mark, was that your plan? Like, hey, I know that's what I'm going to do as I come to the end of this enlistment? Or was it kind of something where I was doing it in boot camp, but I got into this, I'm really digging this. I don't know if I want to go that route.
Yeah. So I forgot to tell you, so I got married.
Okay.
Okay. And I remember, actually I got married. It's like the quintessential, like typical, like, I can't remember, there's all these acronyms for it, but I got married in my language school, like right before I graduated. And I actually turned down, I was going to be able to go to the academy, the Naval Academy. I was going to do triathlons at the academy, but you can't be married at the academy. So I turned.
You were getting an opportunity to go officer?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
From the Master Chief Petty Officer of the Navy, they, when I was doing the triathlons, there's the Navy postgraduate school for officers out there. And I got linked up with these women who were like, dude, you should be an officer and come be on our triathlon team. Like, come be an officer, right? And then, so I put my package together. I got accepted. And then I would have gone to Annapolis instead of Hawaii. But I also then got married, and I can't. And so my marriage actually saved me from being an officer. And I'll explain that later on because it mattered actually with some of this work I did. I couldn't be an officer to do some of the stuff I wanted to do. But then I'm like, why did I just get married? I just knew it was a mistake right away. And now I'm in Hawaii. And then I get divorced because it wasn't the right thing to do. I learned that later. But you think you're all set up because you're getting a paycheck. You feel like you are getting all these things. You have medical, you have a paycheck, you have support. So it feels like you can start a family. But no, I was not ready for that at all. And so divorced. He was from Montana. Actually, so
Navy also?
He was Army. He was actually a police officer. So he went back to Montana to go back and try to be a police officer again. And I just was like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. And that's when I'm like, oh, I can do whatever I want. And so I'm like, I'm going to go back. I remember that EOD, right, from boot camp and everything that's going on in the war at the time. I just remember walking down the beach and being like, dude, I'm just so fortunate. It's almost too much. Like I was too blessed to have the life I was having, living on the North Shore, surfing and kiting and having a pretty chill job. I was like, nah, this is time to go do some hard stuff. Right. And so that's when I made the decision to screen and start training for EOD.
What was the screening like?
So you have to do push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, swim, and run. And I don't remember. I think I remember the minimum, but I always remembered numbers that I was supposed to get. And so you do this thing called a mud pup where you go to an active unit and they pretty much beat you and harass you and make sure they kind of screen you and they mini screen you. Like, are you somebody we want to work with if you make it? So they do a lot of things there to make sure that you really want to be you want to be there. And so with that, they mentor you on fitness, or you get beat a lot. You get
No, it's mentoring.
It's mentoring, but it's cool though because they told me what I needed to get for those scores to actually matter. And without that type of mentorship, oh my gosh. So I was always trying to, and I didn't know this at the time. One of the guys there was trying to screen for the development group, and there's a physical test for the development group. And so he was giving me the numbers to get for that test, which consisted of 50.
Let me go one level higher.
It was like 100 push-ups, 100 pull-ups, 15 pull-ups, 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 3-mile run in 22:30, and I can't remember the swim. The swim was always easy for me, but like I remember that those were the numbers.
Damn, this is hard.
Yeah, so those were the numbers.
Stupid question. Is there different standards for female, male?
No, it's still the same. Yeah.
At that time going in DOD, this is 2007?
Yes.
How many other women
Or 2006, 7. Yeah, that time frame.
How many other women?
Oh, none. There's like no women in my class.
But just in general, in the community at that time.
There are some. There was always like around, the number hovers around 6 to 11 at any given time. It's a lot more now. I don't know the exact numbers now. But
were you ever able to actually talk to any of them before you started the process?
No.
So you didn't know anybody who was kind of like, hey, here's a female's perspective.
No,
on this.
I didn't even have any dudes to talk to. I just went in cold, you know? I was like, whoa.
So obviously made it through the screening process.
Yeah, I made it through.
Where does the pipeline kick off?
Oh, okay. So it starts back in Great Lakes. Similar to that dive motivator. It's the same type of formula, but you have like 3 weeks where it's called dive prep.
What is the grind? It's not just a routine, but the decision we make to wake up, give everything we've got, then find a way to go further. Grind, spelt GRND, is more than a brand. It's a movement, an emotion we all feel connected to as we work daily to pursue our goals and support each other. Founded by a former Army Ranger, Grind Activewear has a clear mission to give 100% and then some more in sport, fitness, and in life. Functional, high-quality performance wear that's rooted in American culture, because you demand gear that outworks the rest. Whether you're on the field, in the gym, or building your own lane, Grind is for those who refuse to settle. Go check out the Grind Collective, that's the grndcollective.com, and tap into something bigger than clothing. And while you're there, use the promo code TRANSITION15 to get 15% off your purchase.
And they want to try to, again, it's like a screening process. So if the attrition there's probably like 50%, I would say. So maybe a class of 50-ish goes down to 20. And then after those 3 weeks, the 20 then go to dive school. And they start a dive school in Panama City. It's like 2 months long, dive school. Then after dive school, you go to EOD school. And EOD school is about a year long in Eglin.
Now, when you say dive school, is it for those who don't dive? Is it your typical tanks, mask, or is it like hard hat diving?
Oh, yeah. No, that's a great question. So with the diving community, there's lots of different things with the hard hats, different types of diving modalities. For EOD, it was just basic, it was open circuit scuba, but then it was also what they call a Mark 16, a rebreather. And so you're all enclosed because we're diving to look for bombs and explosives, and some of them have magnetic and acoustic fuses that will set them off. So our diving rigs can't have any bubbles. So it's all a closed circuit. So we learned scuba, then we learned the closed circuit system, which they call it the closed circuit system of the death rig. It really is a death rig because it's a computer with like piezoelectric crystals that determine the type of oxygen levels, and like with partial pressure and atmospheric changes, it's you have to really pay attention to your monitors so you don't die.
Any reservations of diving, being in the ocean underwater?
Yeah, it was, I mean, you can't see anything. It's not fun. Like diving for the military is not fun at all unless you do a fun dive, like to get refreshed with your group of guys, or you can go and fish or do whatever. But like kelp, I remember playing in the kelps a lot out here in California, but normally, no, you can't see anything. You hear weird things. You have to feel your way around. And diving on ships is really tricky because there's these gaps between the running gear, and like you have to like take a leap of faith and like hope you grab on. And I hated it, but I did it. It was kind of a rush. It was kind of fun. It's kind of scary, but kind of cool.
I was just going to say, because, obviously people think and realize ships are big, but
Yeah.
we see them, quote unquote, above the waterline.
Yeah.
But being below the waterline.
It's so confusing too because you're tied in with a line, that you do signals on with. This is how you communicate with these tugs. And the line feels like you're oriented where you're like, I feel like it's going up this way, but you're searching, you're underneath, you're doing all this stuff, and all of a sudden the line feels like it's pulling you down. I'm like, I don't want to go this way. But it also could be wrapped around something. And I've had that happen before. And there's these suction cups that are like, you have to make sure, it's called tagging it out, like all these suctions are turned off because it could kill somebody, it could suction you in. And so there's always this fear of like, I'm going down and you can't tell which way your bubbles are going. And as soon as you lose contact with something, you just feel like you're in a 360 orbit.
How do you reorient yourself underwater?
Touching and feeling and keeping your hands on that ship, hopefully, is like, and you learn it and you study it if you're diving on a ship. Otherwise, I mean, if visibility is really bad, you have like depending on the type of rig and what you're doing, there's compasses, like I got to dive the dregger, which is another form of rebreather, but it doesn't go all the way down. It's for more of a shallow, like, a shallow technique for infiltration. But when you do that, you have like a compass and you just follow the numbers and you just trust it.
Please be right. Please be right. Well, but they talk about pilots flying off of instruments when you're in clouds and everything. And you're like, hey, I'll just fly off the instruments and hope everything ends up right.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Coming out of, and that was in Panama City, Florida?
Yes. And then Dive School, Panama City, yes.
And then Eglin Air Force Base?
Yes. For EOD school.
Is EOD school a multi-branch school?
Yes, it is a multi-branch school. Navy has extra parts of the school, though. So the Navy has to learn about the nukes. Everyone learns chem bio. Navy does we learn about, nukes and what to do with those, and that's real fun. And then after that, we also do the diving part. So we stay a little longer than all the other branches.
When you actually get into dealing with stuff that goes boom, how's that? I mean, no reservations.
No.
I mean, and I ask that rhetorically, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're like, oh, wait a minute. This shit explodes.
I think that's part of the cool part of the job. And there's all these things, all these countermeasures you do to keep it safe and to limit casualties. And there's like, you take x-rays and you look, there's diagnostics and you see where the power source is and you figure out what to do with all these components to render it safe. Or you use robots or you use all these other things to mitigate. And that part is really fun because it's problem solving. And then you have a team and everybody looks at so many ways to skin a cat, right? But everybody looks at it, and that's where it's like really fun to have the diversity of thought to be used and applied to something like that, because you learn it. Everybody like makes each other better on finding creative solutions for these types of explosions. And then you're like, oh, it's kind of thrilling because you're testing it. Does it work? It's like when you like people, like I like to jump out of planes. Like it's fun. It's like scary but fun. At the same time.
Were you able
to... you did 30 years in the service.
No, I did 30 years in law enforcement. We didn't get to jump out of airplanes.
But still.
100%. I would never change anything that I ever did. I enjoyed it. I tell people today, it's cyclical.
Yeah.
And this is off on a different soapbox, but every generation deals with a phase where they're not liked by the public. Mm-hmm. We will get through this. Other than that, almost 35 years, I would not have changed it for the world.
That's
the one thing I'll always regret is I came close to going in the military coming out of high school, but it was that thing of I knew I wanted to be a cop, but what can I do because you couldn't be a cop till you're 21. It's like, what do I do for 3 years?
Yeah.
Let me go in the military.
Yeah.
And to my naiveness, I didn't seek out good information. I merely went off of the people that I had access to. They hadn't done a career. They hadn't done anything significant in the military. And so the general consensus I got was, well, if you're just going to do one enlistment, they're going to promise you the world, but you're going to get there and you're going to do whatever they want you to do.
Yeah.
So if you're not looking to do a career, don't waste your time.
Yeah.
Was the general. And I wish that I would have pushed myself further and done that. But hindsight's 2020. The total pipeline for EOD is how long?
It's about, I would say like maybe a year and some change. Yeah.
What was the most difficult part for you?
For me was learning how to think so differently than what I was accustomed to. So like with music and with language, I felt pretty good with that, exercising that part of my brain. With math, numbers, science, and thinking mechanically, I was horrible at it. And so having to figure out how to rewire my brain to be able to think this way, not just think this way, but be comfortable with these types of problems was hard. And there was a time when I'm like, dude, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to fail, And I had a teammate, a colleague, a peer. I remember I was giving him a ride to base and I was like, dude, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to suck at this job. He's like, dude, no, just get through it. just get through it because you'll never know what it would be like and you'll regret it if you don't continue on. And I'm like, all right.
Were you actually at a point of thinking of ringing the quote unquote ringing the bell?
I was just thinking that I was maybe not quitting. I didn't want to ever quit. I was almost going to self-induce a failure. So it was like this test. It's called a 50 cal test. And that's what that's how I was going to, like, suicide by cop, death by cop, like death by fail kind of thing, you know? So there's fuses, and these fuses, you can see where the firing pin is, and you want to try to impede it to render it safe if you can, so that you don't have to mess with the giant group of the explosives, the bulk explosives behind this little fuse with the really sensitive explosives. So the initiator. So then the test it's like a 50 cal slug. And with this 50 cal slug, you put it in this, looks like a little rocket. And you have your bomb. So you had your bomb, a fake bomb, an inert bomb, but you had your bomb with this fuse, and you had to do reconnaissance to look up, okay, this is a Russian fuse. I see the acrylic here. I see this. I see this. Here's exactly where I need to put this slug with this rocket, align it like 2 inches. It's like all just so precise. Like you can't color outside the lines for that type of part. But you can be creative in all these other ways, just not that. And so then I remember like placing it there and walking away, and like there's sand, and it just like fell, and I'm like, I'm done, I'm gonna fail. And I remember at that point I'm like, I could just fail like easily, like I act like I'm trying, so I'm not, you know, and just kind of just whatever, give up. And so that's when I'm like, no, like just do this, just go for it. And actually almost would have failed too, because I had measured incorrectly, and this guy's like, dude, you're an idiot, man. Like, what are you doing? Like, you belong here. And I didn't feel like that for a while. It was really hard to be the only woman in these schools. Like, you're constantly feeling like you're not, you know, you're different, and you don't want to be different. You want to just be the same. Like, I'm like, I wish I could just be a dude right now, because I don't want that extra attention. I don't want that extra energy. It's implicit, like it's implicit biases and attitudes and beliefs. It's not like on purpose. I mean, maybe some people it is, but like that, you still feel that energy. So it was hard, but I'm like, when this guy said like, I belong here, and he was an instructor, I was like, whoa, that's huge, because I didn't really feel that. But one-on-one, someone told me that, and that made me think I do belong here, and like go back to that whole reason why you're doing this stuff in the first place. And then I just got realigned, and then it was awesome.
To go off on a little bit of a soapbox.
Mm-hmm.
So every one of us will sit there and go, well, I'm not racist, I'm not sexist,
Yeah.
whatever.
We all are.
But they're perceiving it from their perspective.
Mm-hmm.
You just brought up a good point. Maybe it was or was not overtly like, hey,
No.
you're a chick, you ain't supposed to be here.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you there was feelings, there was
100%.
tension, there was, if anything, maybe you better prove yourself.
100%. It's a whole different type of dynamic. And again, it's different. It's anything that's super different and not, you know, against the societal norm is going to be challenged, as it should be. Like, why is this happening? Like, it's an anomaly, right? We're trained to recognize anomalies. And we look at those anomalies, we pay attention to them, because those could be warning signs. Like Cooper's color code stuff, right?
There are a lot of veteran and first responder-owned coffee companies out there. Trident Coffee is one of them, but they're different. They're cold brew experts, and their beans are roasted for cold brew optimization. But for those of you who love hot coffee, this is a benefit to you as well. Hot or cold, their coffees taste amazing without the bitterness. Their instant cold brew is infused with powerful ingredients for performance, focus, and wellness, including antioxidants and electrolytes, ensuring smooth, steady energy with no jitters and no crashes. This isn't just coffee, it's fuel for your brain and your body. Whatever your coffee needs, Trident has you covered. From a variety of great tasting roasted beans to their instant cold brew and nitro cold brew in a can for when you're on the go. However you drink it, Trident Coffee is coffee upgraded. Get yours now at tridentcoffee.com and use the promo code TDP15 for 15% off your purchase.
So then with that, like, I'm an anomaly. Of course, now at the time, I wasn't mature enough to think of this, but like having learned a little bit about human behavior, of course that's going to be the attitude and belief and all that I'm feeling. So I get it. I understand it. And I'm glad for it because that actually made me way better, made me tougher, made me actually feel like I earned everything I did. And I'm like, cool. Like, I'm grateful for that. I needed that to be the best I could ever be. I want that challenge. Does that make sense? Completely.
Through the entire time that you were in the pipeline, were you the only woman, girl in your progression as a fellow peer, like a classmate?
Yeah. At one point in the diving portion of EOD, after we already went through dive school, now we're in EOD, there was a woman officer who was in my diving portion of that. I think that was like a month. I got another girl for a second. I was like, oh, there's a girl in the locker room with me. This is cool. Let's be girls for a second and then go back out and no, you know what I mean? Just girl talk for 1 second.
Oh, this feels normal.
Yeah. You have a scrunchie? Cool.
None of those other assholes have one.
I know.
Is there a formal graduation process, and when did that happen?
Oh, the graduation? Yeah, I can't remember exactly. Oh, okay, that must have been like, I think it was like 2008 I graduated EOD school.
I'm talking more the whole pipeline. Like,
oh, yeah.
You are now through the whole thing.
Yeah, then everybody.
You graduated, you're EOD, now you're going to go to a unit.
Yes, that happened. So that was like sometime in 2008, our whole class graduated, and then we got our pins.
Where does that finish up at?
That finishes in Eglin.
Okay.
Yeah. In front of the memorial, EOD memorial. It's actually really cool.
Is that the last phase of your training?
Ish. They give you like, then you go to, there's like a tactical skills portion. So they teach you how to shoot and use radios. They don't do much. I'm sure it's different now, but at that time, I think it was mostly just shooting and using radios and maybe some medical stuff. And then you go to your unit.
Now, your knowledge coming out of it, and you're now going to get assigned to a unit. Were you thinking I'm going to be assigned, or do you know, are you assigned to a ship? And I apologize for this, not knowing the whole. Or, because I remember there was a TV show for a little while about bomb techs deployed in the Middle East, and I believe they were Navy EOD, even though they were land-based.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at is, do you know what you're going to be doing?
So I knew location-wise, whoever had, the best in the class got to pick where they wanted to go. And that's how, so I knew where, I finished pretty high up in my class, so I got to choose where I wanted to go. So I wanted to go to California and it's a certain mobile unit there. Now, once you're there, there's so many different assignments EOD can do. And that's where it's like, you might be assigned to support, it's called like a CSG. You might be assigned to support and be on a boat. And that's not what I wanted. And I got put that on my very first assignment. I was like, no, I want to do all the cool commando stuff. Like, why do I have to be on a boat? And I had to be on a boat. I rode a boat twice.
So
our ship.
an EOD unit assigned on a ship. Yes. What's your daily mission? What's your operational? So
we just are called riders. So we do our normal stuff. You still train for everything because you have a whole, like an ISU container on the ship for a blowout in case you need to help respond to land. So I actually got the Haiti. But also you do diving. You do everything still. You do a little bit of everything. It's like the jack of all trades kind of thing with that job. So I was on my first deployment. It was a change of port deployment. So I had to go all the way from California back to Virginia, be on this ship. And then because EOD's on the ship, it's because there's missiles. And if anything happens on the aircraft, we're there to render safe. And then also for the tasking of diving or possibly flying out, we can inspect the pier before the ships pull in, those types of tasks. Also, there's lots of international dog and pony shows, they call it, right? So it's like, oh, we're going to train with the Argentinians, we're going to train with the Brazilians, we're going to train with the Peruvian special forces, and we just do, collaboration efforts with joint training efforts with them. So that's kind of fun, actually. So you're basically the ship's bomb squad. Yes. Got it. Okay. And then, there was the earthquake that happened in Haiti in 2010, and we responded to it, and I got to go one of the first responders there because I was in communications. And so I remember thinking like, dude, I feel so badass. I just got lifted up. I just got to take the helicopter from the ship, fly to Haiti with all of my camouflage, with my body armor on, with my weapons. I felt so cool. But I felt cool for a second. I felt like, oh, this is what it's like to be a hero. But no, it was kind of cool to be able to do a survey in Haiti and help them with like delivering water, because it was chaos. It was mass chaos, obviously. Like, so we would fly around and drop off water, money, and food, and then we'd have to be fast because everyone would like chase and then get it back out and continue on and do escort services too.
This again is a question from an outsider. So a ship goes into port, wherever, somewhere in the Middle East, Australia, whatever. Does EOD dive and just check the hull as part of a normal duty assignment?
So they some could. What I did with diving was I remember Oman, and we got off the boat again, and then we would look for bombs in the pier. So we just searched the pier and had our team work with the host nation as well. So it's like another little effort, but we wanted to make sure we had the eyes on their pier because it's our vessels pulling in. So that's what we did there.
Did you ever get to a point where you're deploying with another woman? Or were you always the oddball in every team you deployed with?
I was pretty much always the oddball.
I don't mean to focus on this. I think from my perspective, and where I'm thinking about this from is, one, you had to probably, and maybe if it was internalized or if it was ever told to you, you're carrying the banner for all the women coming behind you.
Oh, yeah.
And so how you act, how you perform is setting the stand. And not that every guy that goes through special operations to a degree is carrying the banner for the next
100%.
guy behind him.
Yeah.
But there's 100 guys.
Yeah.
There's one female.
I know. It was like a brand ambassador for the gender, right? And so the guys would tell me this stuff, and I'd always hear the stories about this, don't be like this girl, or don't be like this. And you'd always hear the bad egg stories. And I'm just like, man, that just sucks. Like, I don't want to be that. And I don't want to make it harder for the next generation. I don't want to make it harder for any other woman that chooses to do this based on my performance, because that's also what makes it harder, right? Because again, when you're an anomaly, you're going to be looked at. And if you shouldn't be there, and you do stay there, then it messes it up for everybody else. And that's an honest assessment of yourself too, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a big weight to carry, and something that like, I feel like I still carry it, but I feel like I've been conditioned to it. I'm just figuring out how to make sure I'm, being healthy with it and balancing it and expectations, and just like learning about that type of weight and pressure, but also to not look at it like that, because if I'm not supposed to be carrying it, then I should just recognize that and carry something that I should be carrying, because we all fit in spots where we can try, like it makes sense. Like we have strengths and weaknesses. And I think to be honest with ourselves on that is a really good place to be.
Now, from the flip side though, the thing with guys, and I would imagine you probably experience this too. Once you're into the community and once you're accepted, you are like probably the little sister that they will go to bat 100% to protect you.
Yeah, but like...
there was a little tongue-in-cheek in that one.
Well, I just think like, man, I feel I had so much fun.
I don't mean that to be dismissive to you.
It's not.
I think that's just kind of, as guys...
I get it. I think though, like, have you worked really closely with a woman before, like a teammate or?
Yes, but so the little bit that I got to play with our tactical team, we had no females.
Okay.
So I think I'm putting myself into that level where you're at.
So here's how it shifts. There's a little shift. At first, it's like, oh, why is there a girl here? Like, what's going on? Let's check it out. And then there's all this stuff like, we're human. So it's like, all right, let's check this whole energy out. Like, what's going on here? And then eventually it's like, oh, it's cool to have a different perspective on things. And it was fun. And we're like, dude, we can have so much fun and work. Like, it just have different conversations, have different ways to look at things, have different perspectives. And then it just kind of turned out to be like, I think I was like the little sister, but in a way of, I mean, I don't know, it was just playtime. It was just like the best, most fun I've had working with men, to be honest. Even though there's all these hardships at the beginning, once like the wolf pack is like, we'll let you in, you're like, dude, this is so fun. And I feel like, I felt like they protected me, but they were also super respectful of like, no, you have this job, and like, this is your job. Like, you need to be the one doing this. Like, we want it to be equal. And it was that way. It wasn't like, let me rush to pick this up. Like there was a lot of like, no, like you carry the robot, you carry the bomb, you carry your weight, you do this. It was very much like.
I in no way was ever trying to imply that within your community that they ever gave you any type of.
Yeah.
I'm talking
I
about
get it.
from the outside.
Oh.
Anybody who, if you were to ever be talked about negatively, like, oh, you're a woman in.
Yeah,
what
they
I'm saying
do.
is they would have had your back
100%. And even still, like I do work with all like previous teammates or people that were in the same communities. And I can tell like it's cool to feel that support from my brothers. Even now, like even working with law enforcement and the training we do, once we do like day one and I'm like, okay, we're a team together, I feel the support from them. And I'm like, this is great. Cause I do feel like I have this invisible shield of protection here, like my own little bubble. Like I feel like there's such great support navigating life right now by men. So that's cool.
Going back to when you were talking about you doing triathlons and you got pegged, hey, come be an officer.
Yeah.
Was there ever that opportunity once you were deep into your EOD pipeline and going through that portion of your career?
So I did 2 years at the MOB unit, my first EOD duty station, and then I got picked up and screened to go to the Navy Special Warfare Development Group out in Virginia Beach. And the reason I got screened and selected to go there is because I was not an officer. And that was by design because there was a female operator program that I screened for. And that program needed at the time, and it's still, the one time they tried to do it with officers, but it didn't work. So they're like, you have to be enlisted and this is your job. So after that, like that's where I'm like, okay, this is the career. That's the first time I'm like, yep, this is this type of job, this type of work, these type of people, this type of unit. Like I'm in it, I'm sacrificing California to live in Virginia Beach. Like, but the mission was amazing and that organization was very cool. So I didn't want to be an officer because I wanted to keep working. I wanted to do that job. So I just kind of.
What was that process like? Was that something you actively went out and like, hey,
no,
I want to try this?
No. So I got this letter. My command got it. My chief, my boss gave it to me. And I thought the guys were pranking me because they would prank me. Every time I felt like I was cool, they'd be like, you're not cool, little sister, stop. So I'm like, oh, there's this letter. And I was like, oh, they're trying to like prank me or something. And he's just like, and it said, it was from the chief of naval operations. And it said, you are selected to screen for this special program. And at this time, you will show up and you will have business attire and you will be taking psychological tests, aptitude tests, physical tests, blah, blah, blah. Be ready at this time. Please submit this package. Actually, not please. This is an order from the CNO to submit this package. Give a photo profile and then go through it. And so I'm like, dude, this has to be a joke. And they're like, no, don't spill beer on it. It's real. And I'm like, oh. And so, yeah, that was cool because I didn't know what it was. And I remember going through this process, the beginning of it, and I'm just like, dude, this kind of seems cool. Like, but what is it? And they wouldn't tell you what it was yet. And you go through 3 different phases. And then after the second phase, they tell you what it is. And with that program, it starts with about 2,500 digitally, like people they pull and scrub from their records that fit a certain algorithm. Then they get screened by people that are looking for what they want. From that number, there's about 75-ish that they do that first interview process. And then from that 75, they do the second phase. And then after that second phase, my class graduated with 5.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Started with how many?
That one, I mean, I think there was like 2,500 from the database, but then from the actual physical, it was 75 and then 5.
And that class, that pipeline portion was how long?
So that pipeline was a little different because there's like this interview phase in 3 different locations. So we're not all together. The time we're all together is the second phase of the pipeline. And that one, we have around 20 something people. I think maybe 25. And we don't know. It was super cryptic. Like you'd be doing something, you couldn't talk. You could only talk about the weather and like the food. You just didn't know what was going on. You have like a number They strip all, there's no feedback. So like people who need that pat on the back to be like, oh, you're doing well, like nothing. You don't even know. They just say, do what you think is best. Put on this ruck. Here's how you put it on. Here's how you pack it. Here's how you wear it. Now walk. Do I run or walk? Do what you think is best. And you're like, oh, I'm going to run. So like, you just like, you know what I mean? Like,
right.
That's how that was. But then you get done with an evolution. They, you segment it out. And so you get done doing something. And then you're like, oh, there's only 8 of us now. Oh, now there's only 7 of us. They'd like grab whoever, debrief them on what was going on and send them on their way. And everything was packed. Like we had open bay barracks in Birthing, we're saying it. So that you'd come back and you're like, they disappeared. Like, where are they? So it made it even cooler because you're like, whoa, this is intense. And then they said, this is this place, development group. And at that point, they're like, you can choose to do it. But if you choose to do it, here's this physical requirements. And I'll circle back this physical requirements that I got
you were doing
way back. But they were the male version of this. And the program I was going through was an enabler program that they saw females as like an opportunity to have female operators. But I was like, whoa, I was already training for what the SEALs and EOD and SWIC guys were going through. So then I showed up just like really ready to go. And that was awesome.
What was the first year they started letting women try the SEAL pipeline?
So that was 2016. They opened it up. They opened up that rate. Yeah. And
this program that they created was specifically trying to draw enlisted women into the special operations community at the development group level, but still not as SEALs.
Right. No, it's semantics, but it matters, right? Because it's like, there's like, okay, we have needs for women that we can use women as assets for access and placement in places where we don't want to use a guy, and I do stuff with law enforcement, with surveillance and things like that. It's like having a diverse team matters when you want to fit in and get, behind enemy lines in certain ways. So then they're like, we don't want people to look like Navy SEALs. So therefore we have to have this different type of program. And so there was a distinction there because they were like, we want you to have the craziness of a special forces operator. And we want you to have the discipline and the desire and all of these other skill sets that get tested from BUDS and these other pipelines like EOD. But for that specific one, they had their own testing, their own pipeline that tried to test resilience. But it was different because...
This episode is brought to you by Brothers in Arms USA. They're a veteran-owned and operated clothing and accessories brand that's 100% American-made. Every piece tells a story of brotherhood, respect, discipline, and honor. Deeply inspired by those who serve, those who have served, and those who have paid the ultimate price serving our great country. Whether you're an outdoor enthusiast, a proud patriot, or simply somebody who values high-quality American craftsmanship, they've got something for you. Go check out brothersandarms.com, spelled out fully, brothersandarms.com. And use the promo code TRANSITION20 to get 20% off your purchase.
The look of the person looked maybe a little different than, like even myself, really, to be honest. So, or somebody that went through BUDS as a female is a little different looking than what we were looking for.
Obviously made it through the whole program, got assigned to a team. Now you're on the East Coast. How many years into your career at this point?
At this point, I got over there in 2011.
And are you still enjoying being in the military? Is the idea of getting to 20, I could do it, stand on my head, or like, oh shit, I got another 10 years to make 20?
Yeah, I think I never looked at it like at the 20. Like I never felt like I needed the job. I felt like I wanted to want the job and find that I fit into that job and it made sense. So I always took my enlistments, like my contract renewals, at as small chunks as possible, which it meant I didn't get paid the same amount with a bonus, but I was okay. I would sacrifice the money because if I don't enjoy something, I don't want to do it. So at that time, it was perfect timing because EOD, I told you before, like I had to do the boat deployments because women weren't allowed in Navy Special Warfare. And so I was kind of like, dude, this is the whole reason I wanted to go do this stuff. I don't want to ride a boat, a ship all the time. So then with this program to work with Navy Special Warfare and be a woman, I'm like, that's now exciting me. So then I felt like, okay, I'm so excited. And then the things I started to learn about and the training I got and the deployments that I got to do and the jobs and the missions and the people I got to work with, stoked. Like I felt as much as I missed surfing in California, like I was sacrificing that because this job was just so unique and a once in a lifetime type of opportunity, to be honest.
You mentioned not wanting to be on a ship. Can EOD get assigned to a sub?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know.
I
guess I should know.
Not raising your hand for that one, huh?
I guess I should know, yeah.
If you can't answer this, answer it. Does your mission set change when you're with development group?
Yeah.
Or are you still is your still primary function the EOD component?
No, the EOD was like, they were very happy that I had that skill set because now I have the training to do a lot of stuff with them because now I can infill with them if I needed to. I can jump, right? I can dive. So that was great to have that. And I can serve as an EOD if we need to figure out how to make an emergency shape charge to bust out of this wall to evacuate, so I had the knowledge of explosives. So then I was able to use what I had, and then I learned a whole different skill set as well. And so then figuring out how to converge all that, depending on the mission, was like what I got to do, which made it so fun because it was a little different each time.
So then what caused you to want to step away from that and take the training command at SEAL Team?
So I had not, I think you asked a question earlier about the pressure and the weight and all of that, and I think I finally felt what that feels like with my body. And here's my hypothesis. So it was 2017, 2018, and I was like, the jobs were intense, but I was enjoying that intensity. But with that, I wanted leadership, and I was getting to be able to progress to have a real true seat at the table, to be a subject matter expert and be like, okay, no, I want to be a team leader, and I boarded to be a team leader. Like that part was really fun. To actually be a leader in that type of community is huge, right? Instead of just being like someone that they select for a job. Like I got to help design, run, plan, lead. Like I loved it, manage. At one point, that's personality driven, sometimes has to be backed. And at one point that was like, why is there a girl doing this stuff? And everyone, I thought I was normal by this time, but at this point, this is a shock, right? This is like a shock to a culture change, a very big culture shift, especially for somebody maybe who hasn't been around that community and that program for maybe like 8 years, and they saw how much it's changed. So then all of a sudden it was like, hey, we need to have these guys do this because that's their job. So can you just go back and do this? And I'm like, man, once you get a taste of leadership and once you get that taste of responsibility, and it was so hard to get that, I guess, removed. And the autonomy.
What was your rank at this time?
A senior chief, an E8. So then at that point, I'm like, dude, that sucks. And then a lot of it is like the pressure of you can't control every other woman's actions. And we're all grouped together because we all have the same anatomy. And so that was hard because then it's like we're all I guess, yeah, we're all generalized. And that makes sense. I get it. So
But it's not fair because the thing is, you're such a small minority.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody else comes into the community, a guy.
Yeah.
Hey, he's a dumbass.
Yeah.
We talk about him as a dumbass, but we don't say he's a guy dumbass.
I know.
You always got the secondary component of they failed and it's a woman.
I know. And I think that was hard because like it was a female program. So I had to get looped into that female, right? But then I'm like, dude, I'm the EOD person though. I'm still a little different. Like I'm doing the different types of missions than anybody else, but it didn't matter at that time. And so I remember coming back from a pretty cool deployment actually and feeling good from the deployment, but also kind of feeling like misaligned. Like I didn't like to go to work anymore that much. Like I felt like a sick feeling to my stomach as I was driving up, and that was new. I recognized that was different. And then a lot of the backing I had, the senior dudes that mentored me and like took me with them on missions, and I taught me everything and then empowered me to run it, like they retired. And that's tricky because that feels like a death. I'm like, whoa, I don't have this. It's like a social death, right? And then they actually do studies on that. It is the same type of chain reaction we get mentally.
Makes perfect sense.
It does, right? And
we go through so many years with certain people, and then when they start moving away, it's like they're not there anymore. And to a degree, they're not there anymore.
Right. And then also with transition, when we remove ourselves from the society that we've been, institutionalized in, that's a death. It's experiencing a death, where there's everything. When you have that, there's the grieving, there's the sad, there's the depression, there's the anger, it's all those emotions. So physiologically, all of a sudden, I was getting these crazy migraines with these auras that were scary because I'd get like paralysis on my left side. I had to go to the ER several times. I had MRIs. I couldn't speak. Like when I was trying to say something, it was like, like fake words. I can't remember. There's a medical term for that. I don't remember the name. But they gave me like Narcan because they thought I was on drugs. And I'd be like, here's my military ID, but I'm like not talking. And so that was really scary. But they're not finding anything wrong with me. And then I was like, well, is it my stress? Am I doing this to myself? So I'm just like, I think I just got to go somewhere to be happy, and find myself again. Cause I just became such a different person there. And was finding that like when I was losing the people that supported me from being there and losing the autonomy and feeling like I've done so much and then getting that kind of like, put on pause, I'm like, why am I doing this then? So I took that job that I didn't want to do before, working at Bud's, as a Twilight Tour and an off-ramp tour. And I still didn't know what was going on. Again, this is just my theories of like now reflecting on it. I think it was my own body telling me to take the time to realign. That was the first sign of it.
Bigger picture, one of the things that we do in our careers is we let the uniform and the job become our whole identity.
100%.
Was that you? Did you have any part of you that was outside the job?
Yeah, surfing was kind of the thing that saved me because I did always have that. And I feel like if I didn't have that, I think I would be in a completely different space right now. The problem was if there's not surf in Virginia, that's where is my identity? And I think that's where it was getting to be. My identity was that job. It was that place. It had to be. Like I didn't have a family because that place took up everything. And I didn't want to have a family because that place meant more to me than any relationship or any family because it had to be because of the stuff I was doing. Right. And so then when that got put on hold, then I'm like, who am I? Who do I go? Where am I? What am I doing? And that's the soul searching that needed to take place. So the surfing thing, then, California. And I'm like, okay, I'm getting a little bit better. And then it's a process, right? Since 2022 till now, I'm still trying to figure out who I am. Because I had to conform to whatever I needed to be to fit into that environment, to fit into the wolf pack, to do the missions, to do the job, all this other stuff. And some of the tasks were like having to fit in to be able, you know what I mean? So then it's just like, oh, wait, like, what am I like? Like, what am I? And so that's like interesting, but fun to figure out.
Tail end of your career, you're back out here in San Diego. Are you enjoying life? Are you getting back to what would be considered normal?
Yes. I love it. I love it out here. I really do. I mean, I get like the guns, none of my guns are like, I understand the issues.
What, they're
there.
Not California compliant?
Yeah. But like, it's so pretty here. The weather's so great. There's so many things to do outside. There's so much diversity. It's just cool. I'm happy. I hate leaving it. And that's when I know like, oh man, this place feels good because I don't like to leave.
I don't want to let the secret out, so I'm going to edit that portion out.
Okay,
so when you listen to the episode,
I was like, wait a second.
No part of you talking about how great California is.
But I know, right? But it's because I get to play and be me and be back to that child that was growing up in the country that found the lake to surf on and the rivers and the cornfields and all of that. Like, this is my playground here. I'm like so conducive to being outside and to playing. And I was living in Imperial Beach at the time because I was working in Coronado, but I really liked this little town called Encinitas. And I felt a certain energy there that drew me there, and I ended up buying a little tiny home. I live a couple blocks from the beach, and I have a really fun life there that feels, it's my, you know how we have our ANS, our autonomic nervous system, and we have the, sympathetic and the parasympathetic and our rest and relaxed state. Like, this place does that for me in my little home, my little beach, my little community there. I feel good. I feel like I'm starting to finally figure out how to be comfortable in my own skin by that location.
Going back to talking about the triathlon community, because I did triathlons for a bunch of years.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
And that whole area, Encinitas, Carlsbad, Solano Beach.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's just, there's a different feeling when you're in and around that area.
You feel it, right?
Yes, 100%.
And I don't know why. And I was like, is it because, there's the spiritual meditation fellowship garden there. There's a lot of that type of energy there, but I don't know, like, why. It's pretty. But other places this is pretty here. I like the drive up here, but I don't know.
It's not the beach, though.
It's different,
There's
right?
something when you're at the water. There is absolutely something when you're at the water.
It's the ions, the negative ions.
Well, I don't know what it is. I just know that it's the water.
Yeah. No, it makes sense.
So you got out when?
2022.
And coming to your transition out, except for injuring yourself right near the end.
Yeah, that was a bummer.
What were you doing when you got injured?
Training like some counter grapple with blade in jiu-jitsu.
Now, still doing jiu-jitsu?
Well, it was kind of like jiu-jitsu, but not. It's just
a form of combatives.
A form of combatives, let's say.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm laughing because that same day when I injured myself, we were also doing a live tissue lab with pig anatomy, which is great, right? But we were using blades also for puncture wounds to see the damage and to test the type of blade. And then we decided to not take a shower and to train more. And then when I got hurt, I'm covered in like pig blood. I stink so bad. I can't shower because I can't move my leg. And I had to go to the airport the next day and fly that way back to California because I was training in Virginia. So I just laugh because I'm just thinking of that day. It was just so funny.
As you were approaching your transition out, did you have a plan for what was going to be after your military career?
So I kind of thought about what I wanted to do with business, and I went through the Honor Foundation transition program, and I knew I didn't want to work for anybody. I just wanted to be my own boss.
You don't want to be in an office Monday to Friday,
no.
9 to 5?
No, can you imagine?
Little cubicle?
Yeah. Yesterday I had the plumbers come. I was there for like 6 hours. I'm like, get me out of here like a caged animal. But but through the Honor Foundation, I had a completely different concept of what I wanted to do. And this woman was like, oh, I wish I could. I was regarding camper vans. It was called Van Go-Go. It was like Airbnb, but for vans. And this woman that was one of the, I can't remember her exact job there, like HR. She was just like, oh, I wish I could camp, but I'm afraid to camp. And so she's like, I'm like, I'll just teach you self-defense. So I brought my stuff and I taught her some of the things. She's like, this should be your business. So then I had my thought of starting a business in women's self-defense. And that was what I started when I was getting out. But I wasn't getting enough clients to make it a thing. So then I'm like, oh, let me get my personal trainer certification. So I was like working as a personal trainer. Then I was working as like a private, like doing like private shooting lessons and just kind of like figuring that out. And then, so I didn't really have a plan. I was just kind of figuring out the skill sets I had that would translate over to make money being independent, which is a different kind of path. But I didn't have the pressure of, I didn't have kids. I didn't have to say I have to make this amount of money. I had my pension, and then I actually ended up going to school for a little bit, which I was so grateful for because we get the GI Bill, so we get paid to go to school. And then I wanted to take psychology because the human behavior aspect would feed into all the self-defense, personal defense, optimal performance. And then that's when I'm like, oh, this is amazing. And so then going to school, refining my curriculum, and then getting the opportunity to work with my teammates that started their own companies, and introduced to different communities like the law enforcement, tactical Police Officer Association TTPOA conference. I got to go to that this year. And that's been fun, actually. It's been really fun to work with law enforcement because it's like a touch point that I miss. But I'm like, oh man, it's like the same type of energy that you get that I felt when I was in the military. So I find that I like to balance that now with like touch pointing with military or LEO or first responders. And then I also like to do commercial side with civilians because I want to learn how to be one. And I don't know how to be one quite yet. So I'm just kind of playing around with both worlds, and it's fun.
You talk about how, and it's always, I don't want to say amazing, but I hear a lot of veterans who are in the same shoes in the sense of, just let me out of this damn place. I'm done.
Yeah.
And so they talk about the whole transition preparation and everything else. And the military has the TAPS program and all these things. But the thing is, unfortunately, so many of them get to a point where it's like, I just want to be out of here. Let me just check the box.
Yeah.
But where I'm going with this is, so now that was you. You came to the end. You're like, I'm just done. I want to be my own. I want to be my own boss. I want to make my own rules. You're now a civilian. Mm-hmm. Did you have the flip side? Like, oh man, I miss being in the military.
I didn't miss being around in the military, but I missed the people. And that's what I missed. And I'm like, I don't miss the military. I don't miss the structure. I don't miss being told or having to do stuff I don't want to do. But I miss those people. I really did. And I really do. And that's why I strive to make sure I have the touch points with those types of people and that type of energy. Because that is helping the transition along. If that makes sense.
No, perfect sense. So Athena Group is your company?
Athena Defense Group, yes.
Athena Defense Group. Talk to me, like, what's it all about? And
yes. So this year, like January 1, I'm like, let me file and actually make it a legitimate LLC after playing around with the self-defense roles, with just advertising. But I didn't have my shit together, let's say. And I got lots of mentorship to create this company.
What was your mission set? What, in your mind, what did you want Athena Defense Group to be? So
I wanted it to be like I kind of explained, like I want it to be a training a consult. I wanted to be able to work with people and help them be better. I wanted to help create situations where we can navigate stress, where we can control our physiological response to stress, where we can be the best versions of ourselves. And doing that through the modalities that I offer services, I think bring you there because it works again with the automatic nervous system, and you get to play around with the sympathetic and the parasympathetic and feel in control of it because we can be in control of it. And that's the essence and core of the company. But then it gets branched out into like teaching surveillance to law enforcement or shooting or defensive tactics, and then teaching empowerment, doing empowerment clinics and personal defense to civilians. That's kind of how it's branched out.
And as far as kicking off the business, did you have a mentor? What was your learning process for running a business?
Totally. So luckily, I have teammates from the development group that have their own companies, and everyone's been so good about, oh, there's work. This fits your profile. Like, here's work. And so every time I do gigs with these guys, several different of them have their own companies, and it's fun. I learn how they run their business. I ask them questions. I see what's working, what's not. We have these types of discussions and mentorship. It's like the blind leading the blind, but it's not, right? Like some of them are doing very well. And so that's been helpful. And then the Boot Campaign is a great organization, nonprofit. They partnered me through that campaign. It helps you transition. I got partnered with this. It's called Heart Math. Have you heard of Heart Math?
No.
It's really cool. They do a lot of stuff and studies with law enforcement, actually. It's a way to look at your HRV, so your heart rate variability, your rhythm, and to see if it's coherent or not coherent. And when it's in sync, that means all your body systems are in sync, and you're going to not have like an amygdala hijack, like fight, flight, or freeze. Like, you're going to be able to make better decisions. The reason that's given to a military for transitioning is because we're used to working optimally in a suboptimal place, like deployment to combat, law enforcement. That's why law enforcement so much. It's like your environment is so gnarly. And then you go home, and then all of a sudden you're supposed to decop, demilitary, do whatever, right? But
it's real easy. You just turn the switch off, right?
Right. And then that causes all this other stuff, right? Health issues, stress, like everything. It's really, there's hormones that are taking place that are doing this. And so what this does is it helps you align and make that imprint of what that rhythm should look like. And you, it's active meditation essentially. And I like science now, even though I hated it before, but I like to learn how they work. And so it's like, okay, my heart rhythm needs to be like this for me to be in sync. My domains feel empty or my depletion of energy is here. How do I address that? Because what I don't want to do is act like somebody who cuts me off is the same. I give them the same emotional significance as I gave somebody when I was working with terrorists, So why do they deserve that type of level of response? That's on me. And so learning how to check that truly saved me, I think. And I had a coach and mentor. Her name is Sandy, and she was Peace Corps. She's in her 70s. I had no idea this woman was going to mentor me so much. So I met with her, and in her very delicate way, she coached me without me knowing I was being coached. She asked all the right questions to help me self-reflect and guide me. And through the process, I wanted to become certified as a heart math trainer because I saw how amazing it was to help performance. Like, I'm like, oh my God, I wish I would have had this. It helps me shoot better. My groups are better. My decisions are better. I'm thinking clearer. Like, I'm more aware. I'm a better human. Like, whoa. So then I use that then and her mentorship and kind of nudge of like, yeah, this is good, to then imprint that and integrate it into the company. And that's when I felt ready to like start it, because it feels good to have a holistic type of mission that way.
What's the stress points for you for running a business and starting a business that if somebody's got an idea of wanting to start their own?
Yeah. Oh, it's harder than it's not as glamorous as it seems, because there's a lot of things that have to go into it. It's just you. So you're like, at first I'm like, yeah, I want to take all the credit and I want to take all the, but with that, it also comes with the fuck ups, right? So it's like any time it's on you, like, why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do this? It's because of you. Your decisions actually carry this company or they destroy it. And so that part of reality of like, you have to really want to do it. And I'm in the infancy phases of this. And it's like, it's hard because there's certain contracts that you're like, if I get this contract, this is going to carry me over for the rest of the year. And I don't want to continue to pour money into something that's not, the output, right? So measuring all of those things and then learning about QuickBooks and money and finances and learning the system and taxes and all of that is like the icky, gross stuff that is not fun, especially if you want to go play and be outside. So then what I did is I gave myself a very, some latitude with my timeline and expectations. So I said, okay, if I want to do nothing but run this and make this successful by here and here, then I'm going to have to not surf and not play and not do these things. But if I want to play and do these other things and still run a company, like my trajectory of success might be a 2 to 3 year path instead of this year. And then I'll look at it. So kind of that's what I would recommend to people, like figure out what your goal is with your company. And my goal with my company really isn't to make money. It's because I like to recreate an environment that I miss and I feel called to touch again. And I have all this knowledge that I want to pass on to people, both civilians and military and law enforcement and first responders, because it all matters because we're all people. And there's so many things that I'm learning about being a civilian. Like, wow, like everybody has their own combat. Everybody has all this stuff, we can all learn from each other, right? And I think that part is cool. So selfishly, I'm creating a company to be able to network and get exposure to as many people as I can so that we can have awesome conversations and learn cool things and be better. And that's like my motivation for the company. So the money is like, of course I have to be a realist. I have to have money to make it happen. But the driving factor isn't money. And I think that's helping with my patience on and expectations on how it's going to work. And then looking at it, another advice I have is looking at it for this reciprocal type of relationship between your company and your client, because you're serving the client, you're serving the community. So when I looked at it as like, it's not my company. I look at it as like it's a service, and it's like I want to serve the people. I joined the military because I wanted to serve the people, so I want to continue to serve the people, and I want to serve the people that's serving me right now because now I'm a civilian. So it's like, dude, I want to work with law enforcement. I want to work with military. I want to work with first responders because it's like I'm a civilian now. You know what I mean? It's different, and so that's I think why the company is like, to me, it's more of a lifestyle.
Services that your company offers. So you mentioned working with law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you take your show on the road. You go to to those agencies.
Yeah.
What services do you offer them?
So mostly surveillance, mostly surveillance work. I am playing around with a couple female-only combative courses, defensive tactics, and maybe some CQB. And then I'm playing around with a leadership course for law enforcement. But surveillance is the one that's like really taken off. I think has been fun to do.
Most important, though, what are you doing for yourself? Becoming a civilian again and kind of regrounding yourself.
Yeah. So surfing is huge. I now live in a place where I can surf every day. I have tons of surfboards and I take surf trips. I'm going to the Maldives in September. I'm still taking classes when I want to take classes. I'm learning Spanish because I've been going to El Salvador and Nicaragua, and I love surfing in Central America and in Mexico. So I'm just like doing these things to like my own professional development, and that's where I'm like feeding myself again and making my energy, like making sure when it does get depleted, I do something on the back end of a work trip to refill it again, because I can't go. I know what it feels like now to have balance, and I didn't know what it felt like before. I never knew that. So now that I feel that, same as like when you have autonomy and it gets taken away, like now that I have the balance, like I don't like when I don't have that and it gets too depleted. So figuring out like I can choose to say yes and no to projects now based on my energy. And I'm learning that too, because it's hard to say no, especially from the military and law enforcement. We say yes to everything. So that's been hard to like navigate that. But I realize like when I don't listen to my intuition and I do it and I get mad, I'm like, why am I mad? I'm the one that knew better. So just kind of like that awareness that I still work on. I'm not perfect. I mean, I have to do it every day.
Are you setting hard wickets for yourself in the sense of moving forward and what your future goals are? Or are you kind of allowing yourself that freedom that you were fighting for coming out of the military of just, let me stop operating under such tight confines or constraints?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a great point and a great question. I think a great thing too for like anyone listening in this transition period, because we're used to timelines. We're used to things written on the calendar to say this objective needs to be met here. Like this mission needs to happen like this. Boom, 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 boom. All this structure. And I wanted away from that structure, to your point. And so running my life, like I want there's certain aspects of structure that I need, I think. But I'm enjoying being fluid and keeping certain doors open, because I'm seeing that doing that, like there's little hits of opportunities that happen then. And that's where I'm like, okay, the quieter I am, the louder these opportunities are. But when I'm so like this structure and I'm forcing this thing to happen here and I need to happen here, like, no, if it's off, it's off, because then something else comes up. And if I'm quiet and that's loud, I then orient to that, if that makes sense.
Makes 100% or complete sense. Because the thing that's interesting to me is you talked about meeting that woman who was in her 70s and had been in the Peace Corps and stuff. And I think for a lot of us, we put our head down and put our blinders on and we miss so many little things like that.
I know.
People that could come into our lives, opportunities, because I think one of the things that does happen with these careers is we get so used to the structure and everything has to have an end date, a mission complete date, whatever. And we just carry that over into our transition. And then when we're civilians, everything is about a calendar, a schedule. And maybe it is the ability of taking the step back and just let life happen. Have those things in your life. Surfing. I want to go surfing. What can I work that allows that to still be a big part of my life?
100%. 100%. Yeah, that's well said.
we missed any pieces that you wanted to make sure you got? Do you have a website?
I do. Athena Defense Group. I do.
I'll make sure I put that in the show notes. But anything else that you want to hit on? I always like to close it with the opportunity of you've now gone through transition. You were in that bucket, I'll call it, of people who just wanted out. No specific plan, but I know I just wanted out. And now you're a couple years removed, struggling to get a business going.
I think like I don't feel like I'm struggling with the business. I feel like it's helping me actually navigate my transition because I'm meeting so many different people and listening and communicating and talking, and it's just cool because it's helping to form a different type of mission. And so like I think when I first got out, I didn't do that, right? I'm like, I have to be a personal trainer. I have to have a self-defense company. I have to do this. I have to do this work contract. I have to do this. And now I'm almost like, no, like I need to figure out who I am first, figure out what I like, what I don't like. And maybe I got to figure out what I don't like first. And that's okay. And so I think transitioning is like, it might be a lot of trying different things, but be honest if you don't like it, because I feel like we're all meant to do the thing that we like. We need to be aligned, and that internal awareness of where am I aligned. I still am trying to fight off what I'm supposed to be doing because of being conformed for 21 years. Even as a child, right? What do my parents want me to do? How do they want me to behave? What gets the pat on the back? What gets the attaboy, right? Like now all of a sudden it's like, no, what do I want? And I think for everybody transitioning, it's like, that takes time. It takes so much time. And everything I think everyone's done, especially in law enforcement, first responder, military, to this point, like that's service. That's enough. Like that's huge. And just to sit there and reflect on the careers that everyone's had, my career, like I'm still reflecting on my career. I don't even remember stuff until we talk about it. And I'm like, wow, there's a lot to reflect on and to be proud about. You know what I mean?
You've definitely got a lot of water under the bridge. And again, it goes back to that perception thing. You experienced so much that anybody else in a similar military career would have had the same similar experiences, but you had the added pressure of being the woman.
I know,
the
being the
outlier.
I know.
And so I don't mean this in any way like I'm being dismissive, but I respect you so much for what you had to go through and still pop out the other end remotely normal, because it was a huge banner to have to carry.
It was. I appreciate it. Thank you. And it was like, it was so nice to meet. Thank you for saying that. And it makes me feel very grateful to have men that have done what you've done say something like that, and men I've worked with, because that's the huge part of like the equality that I'm looking for. It's not like we have to do the same amount of weights or whatever. It's like that human to human, like you're an equal human and I love and respect you. That to me is just like such a huge thing. It makes it all worth it because I think we can all get there.
If we reset the clock, would you try the SEAL pipeline?
Yeah.
Today?
Yeah, of course.
How long do you think, in your opinion, till there is a woman who makes it through? Because I believe a woman just got through Ranger School.
Oh, yeah?
Very recently.
Oh, nice. I think with like generations, so if you think about it, like in 2016, somebody who maybe isn't born yet gets to be born into a place where they're like, oh, I can do this job. So I think it's been about almost 9 years. So a little 9-year-old's looking at this as maybe a potential. And so I feel like in another 10 years, we might start to see that there'll be more, but I don't think they'll ever flood the gates, because even with EOD, it's always going to trickle in, maybe one, maybe two, but not a whole group.
Well, and the other thing to factor in is you even use the SEAL community, for example. They talk about how it's not a mystery anymore.
No.
There is so much information on what BUDS is going to be like. Everything.
Yeah.
The attrition rate hasn't dropped.
No.
It's still the process.
Right.
So it's always going to be a limiter.
And I think that brings up a great point, because it's not like when I worked there, everyone's in amazing shape. it's got to be that very much intrinsic belief that you're supposed to be doing this job. And I think that's why I'm looking at it as somebody who's growing up looking at this saying, this is what I want to be. Because that's what it was for EOD for me. I was like, I knew I wanted to be doing this very thing, even at development group. It was a belief that I had instilled in me and a thing I wanted and a desire from a very young age. So that's where I'm like, okay, if someone's growing up with that, like that makes a lot of difference. That part of alignment, emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical.
So my 2 gratuitous questions.
Okay.
First one, what's the largest explosion, recoil, shock, whatever you want to say,
blast?
that you felt?
Not that big. Mine's not that big. No.
And then most important, going to the movies, you cutting the red wire or the green wire?
It depends which one is located to the power source. But blast is kind of fun, I will admit. It's kind of fun to feel it, the energy.
They've talked about
far enough away to not.
Again, going back to watching that show, I don't remember what it was, but it was about EOD deployed in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about the TBI, even offset.
I know. Even shooting. Do you know this? Oh my goodness. Well, this is the one part, I think, with law enforcement. I feel like military, we get a lot of accolades. We get a lot of support. I don't know if law enforcement gets that same support, nor first responders, nor, firefighters, right? First responders, they're first responders. But nurses, they don't get that type of support. But one of the things we're learning about is that shooting causes many concussions at a range. And think about it, when you're shooting and it's an enclosed range.
True.
And so now there's a lot of things looking into like how often you shoot and go to the range. It's
kind of one of those things in almost like death by 1,000 cuts. The concussions aren't big. It's just so many of them.
That's what the thing is right now.
I again never even thought about it that way. Nor have I heard or read anything about it.
Yeah.
I appreciate your time.
Yeah,
thank you for sharing your story.
Yeah, and thank you for hosting such an awesome podcast for everybody that's transitioning. I appreciate you.
All the best going forward.
All right, thank you. You too.
As always, thank you for listening or watching the episode. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to reach out on social media or send me an email. The links are all in the show notes. I'd love to hear from you. Also, if you're not already, please follow the podcast on whatever platform you get your podcasts. You can also subscribe on YouTube. And if you would, please leave me a rating. Ratings do 2 things. You can tell me what I need to fix or improve, and the more ratings also gets the podcast recommended to more people. Another ask, please share the podcast with anyone you think could benefit from and enjoy it. And last, don't forget, sign up for the newsletter.